All right, I'm back with another episode in my bedroom closet. No, for real though. I have so many thoughts that's plaguing my mind. And I just want to start off just by saying, like, even when I decided to film this my episodes of my podcast in my closet, I was like, damn, like that's kind of crazy, because I had like a whole little setup downstairs in my office space, and I wanted to look a certain way, and then I had to question myself, like I didn't set this podcast up to create a perception of anything, and I get some people like to have that perception and create this whole facade, but I'm just being real, like, and showing who I am. I created this podcast as a platform to discuss topics and questions that I'm sure others may have outside of myself. I'm sure a lot of us have a lot of the same questions that we may ask ourselves, these different questions of why. And I had to keep asking myself, like, why am I stressing myself over this? Why am I stressing myself on having my makeup done, having my hair done, making sure the lighting is right, and I get it, and it's important. And as I progress in my podcast, I'll get back to doing those things. But the premise of my entire podcast was to have a good conversation. And hell, if I have to film it in my freaking bedroom closet, I want to do so. You guys, I told you I have a family of 10 children and 8 that live with me. My oldest son and my nephew live by themselves. My other son, he is in heaven, but I'm always going to count all 10 of my babies. But nonetheless, I have a loud house. I do. And so I have to retreat to my closet. And I notice I spend a lot of time in here, doing my makeup, getting dressed, picking out outfits, and I have a good time. And there's no space for me, to just cop a squat on my little step stool and just go at it. So after saying all of that, I really wanted to talk about, so many things when it comes to like emotions. And in this case, depression, right? I know that we have these different bouts, feelings that we, you know, um, go through in life on a day-to-day basis. And depression is a big topic, not just now. I believe it's always been, but others just didn't know how to place it or how to talk about it. And the reason why I want to tackle today's episode, which is why do we have bouts of depression, is because I find myself out of the blue getting like really sad. And I'm like, oh, like right now I'm depressed. I'll say that, right? And I'm like, well, is that really depression or is it a depression episode? What is it? And so I have these notes that I wrote down to discuss and to talk about. And if you feel the same way, or if you have any, thoughts or ideas to add to the conversation, please, by all means, like, comment, and subscribe down below. Leave your thoughts. I want to continue the conversation because I feel like this is a very big topic, especially when we have so much going on that's plaguing people in our lives, especially when it comes to finances and inflation and all the other things that go along with just living, and trying to do your best and not feeling good enough at times. The lie we tell ourselves of, am I good enough? And it's like, who told you that you weren't? And so I wanted to really dive into this about depression. And so I have here clinical depression versus passing depressive states. So not all sadness or low energy is considered clinical, so to speak. Some are temporary emotional dips. And I look at that and I'm like, okay, I can see that. You know, when I have what they say an emotional dip, it is temporary for me because it doesn't last. It may not last all day. It may last all day. It definitely won't last all week. It'll go probably a day or two. Usually it's just probably that day. I do have a way of bringing myself out of these emotional dips. And it's so interesting because I love the Brother 19 Keys. It's a trip. I remember listening to an interview with him about 5 years ago when he was like, you have to be there's no such thing as balance. He was talking about balance. And at that time, especially, he was always talking about balance, balance, balance. Everybody in the world just was balance life, balance this. And there is no realistic, way to balance everything. Something's going to take front seat more than the other. And other things are going to take back seat. But I love what he said. You have to be so off balance, meaning you have to be so positive to when it starts dipping and chipping away, and it comes down, you're still positive. And I just feel like when you're not pouring a lot into yourself enough, sometimes, and it can get away from us, any of us, it gets to this balanced state. And that's what he mentioned, like, and when it is balanced, you better watch out because that's when it could teeter back and forth. So, and I look at that within the emotional state, and he was talking about the emotional state. And for me, who was going through it in that time as well, and I'm sure others were, because when he mentioned this in an interview, this was in 2020, so this was during COVID, beginning of COVID, the height of COVID. And I was like, yo, at that time, I had been a widow for a year and a half, and I had to build my positivity for life up so grand. So grand. It was an imbalance. It was so positive. It was way up here. And then the not so positive or negative was like way down here. And which I love to keep it that way. And I just remember going through so many different things emotionally, and it was chipping away at me and chipping away and chipping at me. And then I got to right here. I got to that what's called the balance. And I was teetering. And I started building myself back up again. And that's essentially what I do when I get into what's called these depressive episodes, or, temporary emotional dips. I get into, like, and I don't know if I'm exhausted. I don't think I am, but I don't want to claim something that isn't what it is. You know what I mean? Because I am a huge believer in words do have power. I am definitely aware that we were created by the word. The Father gave the word, and it was so. So I'm not going to claim something that isn't, but I am definitely not negligent or delusional when it comes to my feelings. And which is why I have here language matters. It does. What we say, the words matter. We often say we're depressed, or, we might mean I'm overwhelmed, burnt out, or emotionally flooded. It can definitely mean that too. Because like I just told you guys, for me, it doesn't last all week. It doesn't really last all day. I work on myself and fight through it to come out of it. And I always do on the other side, because I have something so much more to be grateful for. Like I just mentioned, starting off this podcast, y'all can see I'm in my closet. I decided to come on camera. I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and hide it. I was going to do this, like, I'm just going to just put my logo up and just talk. But I love to be on camera. It's fun. It's a good time. It's a reflection. This is like also like an open diary that I get a chance to leave to my children when I'm no longer here, or open journal. Like all of these things matter. And so I can't get so caught up on wanting things to be perfect or to look a certain way when that's not even how I am. I'm truly who I am, and I carry myself that way in the world, and I will continue to do so as I continue building to be better. And eventually I'll get my little podcast studio in my house or somewhere. I want it to be in my home, in the space that I can close off and it's set up, and I don't have to worry about fighting with noise with my children or distractions or mommy, and it's like, hey, mom is recording. And, right now I can just come in my room, put a sign up, do not disturb, recording the session, and then close the closet door. And I have the insulation from the clothes that I need to block out all the noise bouncing off of the walls and windows. Now I can get some better lighting, which I will do, but that's not the point. The point is getting this done. And when I don't get things done, or I have a lot of feeling a bit overwhelmed, which is emotional flooded or being overwhelmed, I know I can go into these temporary emotional dips. I get to feeling like, man, like I'm not doing enough, And it's funny because I remember saying that one time, and my late husband was like, an emotional episode I was having, and I was like, man, I feel lazy. And he looked at me, what? And I was like, I feel lazy. I feel like I'm not productive enough. At that time, I was working 2 jobs online. I was also, my husband and I opened up like a school within our church. So I was teaching my children as well as the children in the church. So I had the lesson plans and the scheduling, and I was doing a lot, and I was still finishing or working on my second master's degree, working on music. I think what it was is if I didn't, I guess because I didn't finish some of the projects, like I didn't finish some of my music. I don't know what I can't really. I don't know. I'm speaking, in the present tense from something that was in the past, and I remember that conversation. But he says, "You're the most productive person that I know." Like, what are you talking about? And I think again, the misuse of words, which is why language matters so much. Again, I just feel as though when I haven't finished accomplishing some of the things I wanted to accomplish, I get very emotionally triggered. Like I have a lot of things that I want to do right now. And when I get ready for my deep dive, I do it and I'm going to complete it. But going through the motions of it, for me, sometimes it gets to be overwhelming. Um, my next, along within the topic of is it really depression or is it a depressive episode, is about how the body keeps score. Um, it's called somatic triggers. So, unprocessed trauma, old emotional wounds can resurface without warning. Very true. I'm always uncovering and peeling back the onions on different traumas in my life that have occurred. I don't step over it as though it didn't exist. I don't like to do that. I like to confront it. Can it resurface without a warning? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. There is no, hey, I'm coming. It just pops up and you're like, ugh. And it's a lot, Body memory. Your body can remember anniversaries, smells, sounds, or places that trigger past pain subconsciously. And there are some songs that I would listen to. It doesn't bother me anymore, but it used to bother me when I was younger or like in my 20s. Like one of my favorite songs by the Beatles is Let Me Hold Your Hand. Something. I wanna hold your hand. Excuse me. I wanna hold your hand. And I remember when I used to listen to that song, it used to make me so sad and happy at the same time. And it was just because of the different traumas that were connected to it. The happy part was the happiness that was connected to it in my childhood and my life, and going to the beach with my mom and my sister, and having the picnic at the beach, and going to the park. Like, and she would always play like an old radio station in San Francisco, KFRD, right? And I used to love that, and that song would come on. But then it also triggered trauma because at that stage in my life, I was going through a lot of different sexual abuse, and it took me back to that time also. And so therefore I was just like, man, it would be hard for me to listen to that song. That's just an example, you know. Um, I couldn't go to certain places, it would trigger the hell out of me. Again, I like to work through my trauma. So those things don't even affect me like it used to. It doesn't affect me at all because I want to be able to speak to it as freely as I'm speaking to anyone now. Because we can't hold those things and lock it away and feel as though, we've dealt with it and we've handled it because we locked it away. And that's far from the truth because they're going to pop up without warning and trigger the hell out of you. I didn't like that. I don't like those kind of surprises. So I like to deal with this. So anytime I'm going through any of these temporary emotional dips, I like to dive into it to say, hey, what's going on with you? And how I dive into it, I may write in my journal. I may sit back and reflect. And again, my podcast this is helping me. My podcast is helping me to express how I feel. When I want to break down and start crying, I'm not gonna sit up here, I don't know. I can't say that. I was gonna say I'm not gonna sit here and break down and start crying. I don't know how I feel. I'm coming to you in the most authentic way though. The most authentic way that I possibly can be. Some other factors that may play a point can be hormonal and biological factors. And it's so funny because you know what? Hold on. As I'm looking through my notes, let me go through and see like what's up with my um hormonal. Oh, okay. My hormones are a little off. I didn't even think about that, right? Because hormones can fluctuate. You have menstrual cycles, thyroid changes, or sleep deprivation that can shift the mood dramatically. And then you have nutrition and gut health. Serotonin is largely produced in the gut, largely. And what we eat impacts our mental state. And it's so funny because I'm going through this whole thing with my eating right now. I was, plant based primarily for about almost 4 years. And I decided this particular summer, I wanted to eat meat, not red meat though, unless it's like goat, right? I don't know. I want to eat chicken. And I'm allowing myself that. I don't like to get so strictly structured when I'm eating, where it's just like I'm rigid. Or sometimes the plant-based community or the vegan community can get too extra. And for me, I didn't read in the Bible that it was wrong for me to eat any chicken. I just chose to not eat it for my personal reasons. And so maybe it's hormonal, maybe it's my gut health. I am paying attention to it. There are some things that I'm just diving into with myself even more where I'm like, well, what's going on? Sleep deprivation. I haven't had a lot of sleep. I've been trying to, and I'm not going to lie, when I have a lot of things in my mind of what I need to accomplish, it is hard for me to really sleep. I am constantly thinking about what I need to finish or what I need to get done or what I need to do. So I'm not truly sleeping or I'm not truly resting. It goes into my dreams also, y'all. It really does. And I'm laughing about the menstrual cycle situation because I'm like, oh snap, I'm coming up on a week. I'm coming up on a week. And maybe that's what's going on with me. Like I said, I dive into what is bothering me. Depressive episodes can also be emotional backlog, like delayed processing. We always put things off and delay it, and it's going to creep back up without warning. You've been too busy to feel. The body forces stillness through a low mood when you've ignored emotional needs. Grief or stress that wasn't honored. Something small can trigger what you've been suppressing. Um, very true. Very true. My mom just visited me this past week and I enjoyed her here. But she's not the same person I grew up with. Like it was so different. I was like, who is this? I kept asking her, you okay? Are you okay? She said, yes, I'm okay. And I'm like, but this is not my mom. Your parents, we all know we have parents that just do certain things. They've done it your whole life. Certain conversations they would have, certain things and topics they talk about. And when that's removed, you look at them like, wait, what? Who is this person? You know what I mean? It's not. It feels like they've been hijacked. Like and I'm like, I know my mom's getting older. I know none of us has really been the same since my sister passed away, and that was my mom's baby. And I'm like, does this affect her in a way to where it's causing her health to decline? Because my mom has always been healthy and up and go with this and that and the other, and seeing her not that for me has been scary. Honestly, it's been traumatizing to me. It's a lot. I'm still trying to process it. And if I could be honest, and I'm here on camera saying is, I really feel as though that's what's bothering me. It's some things that I've put off and I hate it to where I'm like, gosh, when I accomplish it, gosh, my sister wasn't even here to see it or won't be here to see it. And I don't want that for my mom. I don't want, you know what I mean? It's just like a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to process it, you guys. I don't want to go too deep in it, but that's where I am at with it. And then we have environmental triggers, weather and seasonal shifts, even light changes can cause dips such as seasonal affective disorder. I didn't even know that was a thing. I bought a bike and I love riding my bike, but currently where I'm living, it's been raining a lot. And I'm like, why? It's summer. It's 91 degrees outside. Why is it raining? I just want to ride my bike and have a good time. I don't want to have to go outside and ride my bike and I'm running or hurrying up to get back into the house because, oh, now it's raining and it was supposed to be a sunny day. And those things may change. Clutter, noise, or overstimulation, a messy environment can feed internal chaos and sadness. Yes, for me it does. My closet is fairly organized. Like, y'all can't see my whole closet. You probably can see some of the colors, but I have all of my shirts up here and tops organized and my bottoms organized down here and other tops over here organized and all things over here organized. And then I have all my shoes organized and I have my makeup organized, my perfumes organized, and my hats organized, and my glasses organized. I have to. I have to, or it will drive me insane. It will create an eternal chaos. Sometimes I let things get away from me, but I bring it back because it bothers up here so much. And I'm like, I won't. You know what I mean? And see, these are types of things we have to dig into when we get into these emotional dips or these depressive moods or temporary depression days or whatever they're called or whatever we call it. But it's something to definitely dive into and to pay attention and to try to understand and uncover so that it's not a continuous cycle because it's going to come back. And something unresolved will try to find a way to resolve itself. And so it's going to continue popping up until you actually take notice of it. And that's where I'm at with a lot of the different things that I'm going through. We also have spiritual or existential discontent. That's a big one. Misalignment, feeling disconnected from your purpose or values, can manifest as depression. Again, that's the reason why I wanted to create the Why podcast, why I created this space. There's a purpose I'm diving into. Like, I was led to create this 5 years ago, which is when I used to call it Widowhood with a Why, because why is always a question. But I'm like, I wanted to talk more about so many more topics than just widowhood, which is why it's now the Why podcast, for why is always the question, because there's so many topics and values that I want to dive into. And I truly feel like this is a part of my purpose, or my purpose will manifest from this, but I have to show up. And when I don't show up, you guys, I do feel really bad. I'm like, because I didn't get into it for the viewership and the, what is it people focus on these days? The sponsorship, the viewership, the numbers. And I really authentically, truly, genuinely got into it to have a really real conversation with those out here that may feel the way I feel, and to just have a discussion about it and to tackle these questions of why. Why is always the question. There's so many factors, there's so many avenues, and we have these things, and sometimes we say it out loud, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we talk to our girlfriends or homeboys about it, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just internalize it, and it's not healthy, So this right here really hit me, and I was like, wow. We have quiet invitations to go inward. Sometimes a low mood signals a need for reflection, realignment, or rest. Ooh, right? And I think that's what this is. I am realigning myself. I've given myself permission to not try to be perfect. Stop trying to be perfect. So I had to give myself that permission. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in here recording my little video. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm in my closet. It's not perfect enough. Trust me, I was like, I need to get lights. I need to get a backdrop. And I'm like, stop. Your backdrop are them clothes. Your stool, I had a stool. Take that stool out. It's too much. It's too cluttery. And it's frustrating you. Your step stool that you have in here that you step up on to reach the things in the high parts of your closet, that's your seat. That's what I'm sitting on. I have to be honest with that. My makeup isn't done. I just washed my hair, so I'm like, okay, I'm growing my sister locks. It's so many. It's so funny how our insecurities in the smallest things are what, if we address them, especially publicly sometimes, that we realize others are going through it too, and it helps us get out of that, right? Not that we're looking for validation, but it's kind of like a, dang, you going through it too? I had to do that growing up. When I was a teenage mom. Y'all saw the episode, and it was like, I sang, and I'm like, I want to be a singer, but I will never be able to be a singer because I'm a teenage mom, and I was just so many things going through my mind. And then I read that Aretha Franklin and Gladys Knight were teenage moms, and I was like, what? Because that's Aretha, and that is Gladys. It's just the little things. My content is always meant to be relatable, um, and I reflect a lot when I talk to you guys. Initially I'm talking to just the camera, but when I upload it, I'm talking to the world and whoever is listening. And I just really hope that it's helping someone out there to reflect within themselves also. You know, we also have mental health conditioning. Oh, this is a big one. You know, Cultural silence. Many of us were taught to suck it up. So depression feels like a weakness. I remember, you know, um, I know in the scriptures we have confessed thy sins to one another. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a sin. It can just be a confession of whatever we're feeling, right? We need somebody to talk to. That's what therapy comes in now. We need somebody to talk to to help give us feedback, to help give us structure, to help us find what we probably are missing. And I remember one of the leaders in the church said depression is fake. There's no such thing. And I'm like, really? You really believe that? No, it is a real thing. Yeah, it can be, you could call it an attack of a spirit trying to make you feel a certain way. However you look at it, you're in a depressive mood. Your mood is not positive and heightened. It's sunken, it's lowered, and it's depressed. In the simplest way. And I was like, that was very scary for me because I'm like, and you're one of the leaders in the church. So if somebody's going through something, who do they talk to? It's some real stuff that people are dealing with in the world. I don't know if people think we're playing this is for fake, but this is for real, you know? And I know even for myself as a Black woman, as a Black mother, Black women in strength narratives. The strong Black woman trope can make spontaneous sadness feel like a failure. So because I'm a Black woman, I'm supposed to always be strong. I can never be sad. I can never have a depressive mood. Really? Not just being Black or just being a woman, being a freaking person, a human being with feelings, with emotions, true emotions. We all have them. I don't care how deep down you try to stuff them, they are there and they come out in actions in our everyday lives that some people don't even realize it. I'm not gonna say I'm not even gonna attest to that because language does matter because I did it to myself. I took the time, hey girl, why you do that? Why are you doing that? Why are you speaking like that? Why are you whatever the case may be, I am going to address it within me. I hold myself accountable, very much so. Because it's not fair to my life if I don't. It's not fair to the life that the God has given me, that I'm leading, or to the children that I am over, that I'm leading as well, to not be accountable for how I'm feeling, sad or otherwise, you know? And that narrative of strong Black woman, it's like y'all can have that. I remember I think I told my husband, like, I'm strong, but I don't want to always have to be just strong. Like I'm soft, I just want to, be held, right? I didn't get held enough as a child or as a teenager or as a young adult when I was going through some real shit. I just really needed to be held, really needed a hug, really needed to be said, hey, you know what, it's okay. It's not gonna be easy, but you can fight through it. And thank God, you know, spiritually I was able to lean on him. And it was hard to do at first because here I am, this young teenage girl, and who I'm leaning on, I can hear him, but I can't lay on him or what I'm saying? But I was so comforted by the spirit that he put on me, by that spirit of wisdom and love and understanding. And that's what got me through, honestly. And some people don't want to hear that, but it is. It's what allows me to be able to speak freely and openly about so many different topics and so many different things, you know, whether usually it's going to be about myself, but whether it's about myself or other situations that I've seen others be a part of, where I'm like, damn, I do dislike that the strong Black woman trope. It's played out. So I want you as I'm coming to a close of this conversation, ask yourself this for reflection. What am I avoiding emotionally or physically? Only then, when you start asking yourself these types of questions, can you really dive a bit deeper into satisfying or combating what you're going through and then working through it. Um, am I exhausted, overcommitted, or spiritually drained? I'm thinking for myself. I don't think I'm exhausted. Maybe mentally. And I need to just structure some things and get things knocked out in order and finish and complete it, and I'll feel better. I feel better when I complete the things that I'm just in my mentally exhausting me. Um, Overcommitted. I got to come back to y'all on that one, because what does that even mean? Like, I am a type of person, I can't just do one thing, y'all. I just can't. It's just not who I am. I have my podcast, I have my career in education, and then I have like over 100 pounds to lose. So I'm also in focus. So I have another channel for fitness, you know, and that's just also like very raw and uncut. I'm working out in my little home gym, and I'm focused on getting the weight off of me, you know, and it's not difficult. I'm not spiritually drained. I need to be spiritually fed. And I do have some of my outlets that I listen to, like Myron Golden. I love Myron Golden. I listen to him a lot, and get my word, and, my late husband's precept book. And sometimes me and my current husband, will have spiritual conversation. I love that. I love that. And I'm going to talk to my husband when he gets home. I want it spiritually fed. That's what I want, the spiritual feast. I'm yearning for that. It's been a while. It's been a while. I have been a part of some things that have been emotionally draining and spiritually draining, where I was like, I don't need to be a part of that. So I kind of like distanced myself from that, because it was like not for me. And another thing to ask yourself for this reflection, which I'm also doing the same thing, could this be an emotional detox rather than depression? That's a heavy one, right? Because you may say, well, may say like, well, what's the difference between an emotional detox and depression? They're two completely things. I think clinical depression is a real thing. Let's not overlook that. Um, some people take medicine for it. You need real spiritual guidance to come up out of that as well. You know, an emotional detox. I put this in so I can really go through it and not lose my train of thought. It's a natural release of suppressed or unprocessed emotions like grief, anger, fear, or exhaustion that the body and mind are trying to purge. And wow. Y'all, I've been dealing with a lot of grief, um, fear, I'm going to say it, exhaustion, anger. Exhaustion, I told y'all about the mental exhaustion. The anger, being mad at myself for not completing some of the things a little sooner that I could have completed, that maybe I could have been able to share in that with my sister when she was alive, and now I'll never get that. You know, the fear of not making sure I have enough in place for my family in case a huge thing does happen, and it's like I didn't prepare enough, and the grief again, the loss of my late husband, my sister. Sometimes I start thinking about my nephew. I started crying the other day. I'm gonna do that now. A great niece came to visit, and she looks exactly like my nephew. I mean, she got his whole face, dimples, smile. Seeing her made me so happy, because I was like, I was looking at him. I was looking at him. Like I just told y'all, I didn't get up on here. That's why I said I don't even know because I may say some, things just pop up on you. But I could see that, like, ooh, this is an emotional detox. I'm calling it depression. I'm depressed. But it's like, nah, it could definitely be that. Key traits of an emotional detox is temporary or cyclical, often triggered after a big life change, emotional growth, healing work, or spiritual awakening. I'm telling y'all, my mom is not her. Seeing her like that, I'm like, who is this? It's just, she wasn't walking right. Usually my mom is. Let me tell you something. That lady walks in her heels. She dresses down. I'm seeing her just throw in a sweatsuit, barely put on any makeup, and just shuffling. Her walk has become a shuffle. She's she's not even that old. So I don't know. I think that was a big for me. Feels like a purge. You may cry easily. Y'all just saw me just trying to hold back the tears. Feel irritable, fatigued, or deeply introspective. Dang it! This right. This right. This is right. Mm. Often follows growth. It's common after breakthroughs like therapy, spiritual work, or quitting toxic habits. Yeah. This is therapy for me right now. Like having this little breakthrough. Even just like being on here, no makeup, hair not done on, don't got no wig thrown on, and then this y'all don't even know because I get so focused. I told you I wanted to be perfect. That's why I made that other episode of trying to be perfect. Perfectionism is the lie. It's a lie. Because you're not gonna get anything done if you want to be perfect. So this is a breakthrough right now. um, you're still hopeful underneath. There's an awareness that something is moving through me, not that you are the problem. Yeah, very hopeful. Very, very hopeful all the time. I'm like, I'll come out of this. I know I'm going through something right now, and I'm gonna come out. We just call it. We going, black folks. We going through something. Going through something right now. I come out of it, and it's true. We do. I do. I do, and I think whoever is out there who relates, you will too. You'll come out of it. Um, can be healed through rest and release, journaling. What I say, because I be journaling, y'all. Don't trust or believe a journal is going to be coming soon eventually when I genuinely take the time. I've been taking little notes over the years on how I want it to be structured for real. Journaling, talking, crying, nature. I told y'all I ride my little bike. I ride my bike in a little, well, I was riding through the woods. Look, side note, me and my husband went on a little bike ride last week. We were riding through the bike trail in the woods. Child, we heard a growl. We got to pedaling, honey. I say so. We're gonna keep nature to the park. We're gonna keep nature to the park. But nature, sleep. I need to take my to sleep. Okay. Solitude. Hey, I get solitude when I come up in this closet. Listen, kids out there, quiet in here. I'm good. And these can help you move through it. It's an emotional cleanse, messy, but ultimately healing. And so that is what an emotional detox look like. So depression. This is what depression looks like. What it is a diagnosable mental health condition that can range from mild to severe, may require long-term support or treatment. Um, some of the key traits is persistent and lingering. It lasts for weeks or months, not just a few days of sadness. Emotional numbness or hopelessness. You may feel emotionally flat, helpless, or like nothing matters, which is why some people with depressive modes or moods it leads to suicidal thoughts, right? Because they have this feeling of helplessness and hopelessness. Loss of interest in daily life. Things you used to enjoy feel meaningless or it feels exhausting. Or you don't longer want to even do it. There's really something to look at. That's a depressive state. Physical symptoms, appetite changes, sleep disruptions, fatigue, or even physical pain. But this is serious here. That's why I'm not playing with it. That's why I'm like, the words that I'm uttering, I need to make sure that they're well placed, that they're actually realistically placed with what I'm dealing with. And reading through what depression is, it's an emotional detox for me. Lastly, requires deeper intervention, therapy, support systems, lifestyle changes, and sometimes medication. Depression can feel like being stuck in a dark room where you can't find the door. No, I'm not going through that. Um, and I know I named this, you know, why do we, I'm sorry, my brain's all over the place. Why do we have bouts of depression? But I can say, as I research a little bit more to tell the difference between depression and an emotional detox, those two are two differing, you know, things that we have to really understand which one is placed on us. And not from someone else placing it on us, but actually really doing the work to dive deeper. And so I have a little chart right here that says how to tell the difference. So the question, did this follow a major shift or healing? Likely, most likely, it is an emotional detox. It's not, that is not always considered depression. Do I still feel glimmers of hope or clarity? If it's a yes, that's a more of an emotional detox, not depression, because they rarely feel that. Does rest, self-care, or expression help me feel better? Usually. If it's usually, that's an emotional detox, because for depression, not much. Has this lasted longer than 2 weeks with no relief? If it has, it's possible that it's more of a depression. It's not likely an emotional detox. That's more of a depression. That's possible signs of depression. And am I withdrawing from everything and everyone without knowing why? For emotional detox, they may have a temporary retreat, but that's temporary. Depression is an ongoing detachment that draws a person more and more further and further apart. So we have to really take the time to look into this and to understand and figure out which one it is that we're tackling, that we're dealing with. If you're unsure or the low mood sticks around for more than 2 weeks with no signs of light, no signs of hope, no signs of clarity, it's important to talk to a mental health professional. Emotional detox is a part of a healing process, whereas depression needs care and not self-blame. So I am happy to have shared this episode with you guys. I know it was a lot that we tackled, and hopefully it wasn't emotionally draining for you guys. Hopefully it was more reflective. It was definitely reflective for me. So as always, I'm going to leave y'all with this question: everything, starting with why, because why is always the question. And I'm out, y'all. Peace and God bless.